Hello and welcome back to Bold TV. I'm Philip Michael and I'm joined by our featured entrepreneurs and my good friends Michael Shallett and Matthew Shapson. Excuse me, Matt, I almost butchered that, huh? They're the co-founders of PBDC and also two of the most, the fastest growing, most, just crushing it in the Philly market. Young developers out of Philly. Welcome, guys. I'm honored to have you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so let's get right to it, man. What would you guys say is the most important thing? And this is something we've talked about, but when looking for a business partner, obviously you guys came from Temple University together. You guys know each other. What's the thing that you look for when you want to find a business partner?
I don't know. Mike usually says that we're kind of like the yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
We bring two like really different perspectives to the business. You know, my background is a little bit more in like the entrepreneurial spirit with my family, brothers, my father, and Mike comes from definitely bringing the construction and real estate experience. And I think us coming together and bringing those two yin and yangs, a little black and white, makes a really good partnership. But trust, I mean, from my perspective, I mean, there's a lot of trust in what we do, that we can each accomplish what we set out to do, and we really rely on each other.
Mike, this question is for you. Do you remember the first conversation you guys had about starting a business together? How did that come about?
Yeah.
How did that conversation form, and how did it actually get executed?
Oh man, we're going back in time a little bit here.
Talk to me.
So, you know, Matt and I, we ran in the same circle of friends at Temple University, and you know, coincidentally, our wives grew up across the street from each other, and they went to high school together, and we all went to school at college together. So we were, I think, you know, Matt, I think, was in town getting his suit fitted for his wedding, and we met up with them for a couple of drinks, and I think I might have just been on a little bit of a grumpy day with my current job. And I was like, you know, I really want to just do my own thing at some point. And Matt's like, well, how serious are you about that? You know, Matt kind of had that light bulb go off in his head.
Entrepreneur.
Like, let's dive into this. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I remember like going home and I'm like, I wonder like how for real he is. So then like I hit him up a couple months later. I'm like, are you for real about this? And he said, let's do it. And we worked together a couple of things. We got linked up with some real estate colleagues of ours that, you know, uncoincidentally, that we're still very heavily involved with. And that's kind of how we got the ball rolling. And man, that was probably 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This April will be our, 6th year operating as a business. So, I mean, we kind of got the juices flowing a little bit earlier than that. Pretty crazy how far we've come in that time.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say that one of the things that I personally admire about you guys is that a lot of times founders, they go out and they raise a lot of money, and it becomes a skill to raise the money, but they don't know what to do with the money. They don't know how to turn that capital into a functional operating business. You guys are practically, for all intents and purposes, self-funded. You started from scratch. Now, how did you do that first project, and what challenges, coming together with the yin and yang, which you may not have known at that time, what challenges did you have doing that first project, and what was that first project like, and how did it end? I know it's a lot of thrown at you, but I got to hit you with it.
I'll start on kind of the beginning and the funding on that part, and I'll throw it over to Mike to kind of talk through a little bit of the execution of that. But at that time, I had recently been involved in a sale of our company, so I had a little bit of extra spending cash, and I wanted to do something with it. I like the business creation, the entrepreneurship, and I've spoken to a few people about, hey, maybe we can start this or start that, but kind of as like a tip for anyone out there looking to do things. You never push anyone, into doing something. You kind of like plant those seeds, and we might back and said, hey, like, are you really serious about this? I was like, this is going to work. I knew it because he came back. I know he thought about it. And I said, all right, we'll be 50-50 partners. I'll bring the capital into the deal. You bring all the knowledge, expertise, and I think that'll be the perfect match. So this first project we did, I can let Mike talk to, again, the execution, but essentially we found a piece of vacant land. We said, we're going to build a spec home from scratch and sell it and see how that goes. So I said, I'll bring the capital to do that. I said, Mike brings the execution and expertise, and then that kind of rolled over one after another. Hey, that worked, kind of doing it on the spare time. Let's take that money, roll it into the next one, and then really strategically build from there. But I'll let Mike kind of talk on some of the execution of that.
Yeah, it originally started as just kind of a, hey, this is something that we can do in our extra time and make a little extra money. have that extra, that fun vacation you want to do, or buy that car or something like that. I think that was kind of where it originally started, and then it's kind of grown into this, enterprise, if you will. One of the things I think that it really kind of, I remember on that first project is, luckily,
what was the first project?
we
Not to
didn't
cut
really,
you off. What was the first project? What was it exactly? It was a house.
It was a single family home.
Mm-hmm.
3 bedrooms, 3 baths, pretty standard kind of South Philly row home type. We had an idea of what we wanted to do. We approached some architects that weren't really being used in South Philly, so we could kind of create an individual brand of not just the typical cookie cutter stuff that was going on in that neighborhood at that time. We worked with them on kind of creating a couple finished packages of best, better, or greatest kind of deal. And then we kind of worked with that and selected what we wanted to do with how we proceeded with the homes. And we knew that if we spent money, it seems kind of simple, but we knew if we spent money in a couple spots that was a little bit more than what other people were doing, the homes would really stand out. We did like a European style kitchen before those were really prevalent. Kind of wood grain veneer face, quartz countertops. We had a speaker system and a wet bar in the roof deck. Little things that weren't a ton of extra money to implement, but since we were controlling our process as the builder and the developer, we were able to have that extra margin to do so. And like most of our projects, that one, as soon as we had the place drywalled, we essentially were getting really good traction. Within a week of finishing the place, we were under agreement and closed shortly thereafter. Our realtor tells a funny story. He lived around the corner from there. He said that, he got a call like on a Friday, probably a day or two after we closed, and someone's like, "Did you really sell, that house at X amount of dollars?" And he said, "Yeah, definitely." He said that Monday he took his dog for a walk down that and turned down that street. He said there were 6 different companies digging up their vacant lots on that block to start building houses since we sold that house.
Since you guys did that one.
It was kind of one of those things that I think we knew.
Forever. This is piece of cake.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things.
I think that was.
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
I said, I think that was kind of when I realized that we were onto something. And one last thing with Matt and I remember the first week we were doing the project, we just got our foundation, and Matt and I were like, well, maybe we need to be able to support each other and know what's going on. I remember we sat there and I was trying to, kind of walk Matt through the foundation process. And I remember Matt kind of telling me like, okay, listen, this is how I'm like, handling the financial side. I remember it was probably about 10 minutes. We kind of stopped and said, why are we doing this? Why don't we just stick with what we're good at?
Right.
We'll continue balancing each other out. And it's been great. I mean, Matt has a great eye and an understanding of all the major parts. And I think he's a guy that really can kind of balance me out when I'm getting kind of too stuck in the weeds on the details. But it's been a fun ride, and I'm looking forward to what we have going on.
And that really forms, Matt, to your point, the yin and yang dynamic of your partnership, where you complement each other well instead of stepping in each other's toes. And I feel as though, like you guys say, that is an important foundation, no pun intended, for any partnership. Now, one of the things that I want to point out also is that a lot of other developers would maybe cut corners and say, look, we can save here in kitchen cabinets and whatnot. And you guys actually invested into that, which means that years later it paid off. And now in a pandemic, you guys actually have done in the neighborhood of $20 million while construction in other places have totally halted. This is so hard to do. How did you guys do it? And what's the situation been like for you?
Yeah, I would say from those little extra details, I think what really helped us and set us apart when we started this was a side gig. Like Mike and I both had full-time jobs. So our goal was really to have fun and make a little extra money. So squeezing every dollar in profit out wasn't our goal. Our goal was to build something really nice, like really memorable. Mm-hmm. And we don't take that lightly. Like even from the first house, we were like, man, someone's going to live here. Someone's going to buy what we're building, and they're going to have a family here. They're going to be here for a long time. So putting the little extras in there and building a really good product is how we started, because it was just part of the fun of it, and that's just carried over and translated to everything we're doing.
To everything. All right, we're almost out of time, guys. One last thing. What tip would you give a young person who wants to get into real estate or construction? I'll throw it to both of you. In a quick soundbite, what tip would you give them?
Stick to your guns. Establish a culture that's strong, ethical, and really strives for quality and transparency, I guess. I think that's what really sets us apart, is that when someone shakes my hand or Matt's hand, they know exactly what they're going to get. And I think that helps with a strong collaborative partnership and a less, crazy atmosphere getting to that end.
And I can 100% attest to that myself personally. Matt, for you, if someone is looking to get into real estate, what would you give them? One tip in a few seconds.
It's not a get rich quick scheme. Patience, take your time, and it'll pay off. But I have to echo what Mike says. Honesty and transparency will get you so far in this business. It really will.
All right. Love that. Thank you so much for being here, guys. And we're going to have you back at some point in the future because you always got some lit stuff going on. So thank you. And thank you all for watching. Please follow Bold TV on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Have a great day and great weekend to you all. I'm out of here.